Hi, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Rinkside here with myself, Ryan Steves, and co-host Emma Miscue. What's going on, Emma? How you been?
Oh, I've been good, just enjoying the summer. How about
Yep.
you?
Yeah, same. Summer goes by so fast, and I know especially for someone like you, whose summer is filled with supposed relaxation and recovery from your long winter season. So as we enjoy it so much as winter sports people, I wish we could slow it down.
I know it does go by quickly. I luckily don't have to just spend all my time at a bowl diamond, although I'm sure you love it secretly. I
Mildly.
got to enjoy some cottage time and
Awesome.
training, and this is our only time train, as we've said. So,
Yeah. Nice.
but yeah, super excited. We're talking about something a little bit different today.
Mm.
It's a topic that has come about in some of our discussions, but I don't know if anyone really has all the information on how to navigate the world of social media.
Mm.
And I think that it's a it's a platform that's not going anywhere. It's
Yeah.
here to stay. And it kids are on it. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no social media, so I don't know
Mm.
all the answers to how to navigate it. But a few years ago, I got a lot more active on it with the help of our guest, Jessica Szabo,
Mm.
who has kind of transformed not only how I view social media and how I portray myself on social media, but also our team
Mm.
and other athletes and other teams as well. So we're really happy to have her on to
Mm.
help guide
Mhm.
listeners into how to manage this world. So welcome, Jess.
Mhm.
Thanks for having me, Emma and Ryan.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure to have you, Jess. And I think Emma did a good job summarizing how social media can be used positively for someone, at Emma's stage and on the world stage and utilizing that and leveraging it. I think for parents, it's a bit of an anxiety inducing concept too. It can be overwhelming. We are trying our best to manage how much consumption there is. But on the positive side, it really is a way for children, for young athletes, young and older within that frame, to interact with their sport positively, and express themselves and build a bit of a brand. And that's something that makes us parents a little uncomfortable, is teaching them how to use it and that too much of it is bad, but also how do we do it positively? And so I think you're the expert here. We're at least making you an expert for the day. So enjoy that title. Um, Jess, why don't you start by telling us all a little bit about your background? You've been in some cool positions, ranging from as I look from TSN, CFL, NBA, to starting your own shop and then getting into this new world of pro curling, I suppose we call it. But I'll let you talk about that. So maybe you can just tell us all why you're the Rinkside declared expert on social media
No, of course. I'll take that title. Thank you very much.
today.
I've been in sports for over a decade now. A big chunk of that time has been working on the social media space. So I do have a new media background from university, but I was able to jump right into it with TSN. I worked a bit on NASCAR. That was my first entry into the curling space and where I met Emma during my TSN days. But more working like on the partnership side, some social media. And then throughout my career, I went to the CFL, where I worked more on the retail partnership side, got some more partnerships experience and marketing experience. And then I went over to TELUS, where I moved to Calgary for a couple years. I managed the
Nice.
West sports portfolio over there. So some CFL teams, the Calgary Flames, worked on Hockey Canada and the World Juniors. So building out integrated
Okay.
campaigns that include social media. Jumped back to Toronto, worked at the NBA Canada office during the pandemic, right after the Raptors
Oh,
won.
jeez.
Got some good experience working on the WNBA during my time there. I went back to the CFL, more of a leadership role. And then during all this time, just kind of as a side hustle, I was always working with my husband's curling team. Um, for context, Emma and my husband Ryan, they played mixed doubles together way back a couple years ago. Feels like a while ago now, but managed his team social media. But then Emma approached me during that time to manage Team Homan's social media. So that was my first like official curling client. So it launched into over time my own business at Gravity Management, where we managed curling teams and athlete brands across social medias and helping them with their sponsorship and influencer marketing. And the last 2 years was deep into that business. And then in the last year or so, one of my clients was the curling group. So now I'm in house as the VP of marketing with the curling group at the moment. So helping them launch Rock League, which is the first ever professional curling league, starting after the Olympics, April 2026.
Wow. Yeah, so we haven't really gone into that, Emma, this the Rock League. Like, what is the challenge or what's the opportunity for you in this position to be a part of that as it launches into this new world?
Yeah, I think it's a super exciting opportunity. Obviously, curling is such a amazing sport. I'm a huge fan and obviously a little bit biased, but every 4 years, I think the entire world kind of falls in love with
Yeah.
curling when it's on such a huge global stage, right? So, launching Rock League right after the Olympics is a massive opportunity in the fact that while everyone has fallen in love with curling again, they have an opportunity to continue watching it right after. And I think with curling, a lot of people don't realize the equal coverage among broadcast, viewership. Team Homan especially has built such an incredible brand around themselves. So we're one of the most watched curling teams, most followed curling teams on social media as well. You're seeing men and women play together in this. And
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever seen that in
Cool.
pro leagues, right? So
No.
I think building a star system and taking away all the aspects of having to find your own sponsorship and dealing with your own team like business, that's all taken away, and all you have to do is show up and curl.
Wow. Cool. One of the things, just a side story here. I know, Emma, you guys were on The Social about a month ago, and I think it was Tracy talking about just what makes curling unique and the marketability of this Rock League, for the marketability and success of women in the sport relative to the male counterparts in these male leagues, these male dominated leagues that are bringing in a lot of revenue and a lot of eyeballs. But curling seems to be somewhat unique in that sense, where and Team Home and you, Emma, have been so good at drawing in those eyeballs and marketability of the sport for just how dominant and the product. So, kudos to Team Home. But Jess, it sounds like you've sort of helped in some way of bringing all that about.
Yeah,
I'd
definitely.
say Team Woman has done it before I
Totally.
started. I feel like you were one of the very first curling teams to really hire your first social media manager. And that was even before I worked with you. So you had a great social media following and presence. And I think that was also obviously you're a successful team on the ice, but it helps build your success of not having to worry about that piece, right?
Fun fact about why we did that. It's not why you would think. We were like, if we won, sure, it was fun to go and post. But when we lost, we'd be like, no one wanted to post. We were like bitter and angry about it. So we're like, you know what? It's probably better if somebody else does this behind the scenes so that we're not only posting results from games if we won the game. And then it just kind of, it was easier from there to have it be an external person who could manage even the DMs and messages and stuff. Not having eyes on those all the time, I think is a good thing. So that was the secret real reason we started doing that. But then we were like, we can't go back. And then found Jess a few years later, and it really transformed. I think that's the biggest thing that for me individually and for the team, but it really transformed just how I viewed social media. And I always like, Jess, you can talk to this too. When we first started working together, I didn't want to put anything like silly or goofy or imperfect out to the world. Like I wanted to seem like perfect to social media. And then you were like, no, that's not how social media should be used. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's something that like for kids, like teens and athletes should actually hear this, because we're not perfect, and nobody's perfect.
No, absolutely. I think that's a really great point. And I feel like one of the negatives with social media is also all the filters that are being used as well. And I find in the social media space, some of your best performing content, Emma, has been just you, organic. Sometimes I'll catch you in the moment doing something completely random or silly, but those are the videos that spike to like the million views. It's not the ones that are like polished, perfectly filmed in 4K and well rehearsed and scripted. It's just being authentic in yourself. Me personally, when I'm scrolling on social media, the things that catch my attention for creators is having that level of being authentic. It makes you want to follow and keep along with the journey on their feed, right? I don't like a curated feed, and when you're striving for that perfection, it's really hard to achieve personally, right? So I'd rather connect with someone that's putting out real content and being
Uh,
themselves. And I think, especially on the athlete side, that ties into being a role model too, right? But some of the most followed women athletes are really putting out positive messaging about like body positivity or being more real and authentic. And I think that's an important way to build your brand, and you don't have to be picture perfect on social media.
in that sense, though, Jess, would your advice then be to make sure that there's a theme, there's a brand that you're always staying true to? Just for instance, so you're not putting out content that's maybe a little inconsistent with the image you're trying to set, the image you're trying to portray, the type of athlete you are. Is all of that part of the consideration as someone sort of really gets into managing their own social media brand?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's important when you start to get really intentional with social media is going through a bit of a brand exercise. There's things
Uh,
available online that you can do, but it's building out like your values, your own
uh,
little mission statement, like
uh,
how you want to be perceived online, like, but still stay true to yourself. So
yeah.
I always like to do that whenever I was working with my clients. It's kind of sitting down in the beginning and having like an hour brand session of just diving deep on who you are, what your interests are, and kind of hone in on those niches as well. So Emma is a curler, but she also loves
Uh,
to cook. She loves her dogs. She
uh,
loves the cottage. So it's showing her interests online. And I think
uh,
as you evolve into an athlete at more of a pro level, it's also when the revenue starts coming, it's finding brands that align with your interests as well, not just taking any brand deal just because they're giving you money. I think it's important early on to find the right brands to partner with as well.
uh. If you can imagine for a sec, let's step back from your role helping athletes monetize that and manage their social media. What about the athletes that are trying to crack into that world? And for that, I think a big part of the recruitment process and advancing through athletics to the higher levels now has recruiters actually inspecting that part of your life. What kind of person is this? How do they interact with the world? What person are we getting? So what advice do you have for those people who are not yet maybe at the monetization point, but are still trying to set that brand and not post content that is purely curated? I think that's one of the big criticisms that parents have for the content their kids are consuming now is that it's all fake. And by that I
Yeah.
mean it's all highlight based. It's all the perfect content that's being put out. And you know, for me anyways, I'm looking at that going, well, that's not actually the sport you play. That's a snippet designed to impress you in 4 seconds or less.
No, for sure. I think it's like a level of being vulnerable online.
Uh-huh.
Like I
Uh-huh.
think, Emma, that's something you and I talked about from the very beginning. It's just kind of shedding a layer and just showing yourself, but also not caring what other people think is a tough
Uh,
one, right? I think
yeah.
when I'm working with athletes that are getting bigger and bigger on social media, at first they're like, I don't want to post this. Like it's not like perfect. I'm going to care what people think about me. But you have
Uh-huh.
to remove that layer. It's not like impressing who's in your school. You're reaching a global audience of people that
Uh-huh.
the message that you're putting out there, if it feels true to yourself, it's going to resonate with a following that you want to attract.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like on the plane on the way home from Worlds when I was wearing a skincare full face mask. Like Jess was sitting across the row from me and they started announcing, congratulating us. Everyone started looking around and she thought it was
uh,
funny. So she took a video of it. And my first instinct, even like years after being more vulnerable on social media, was like, ooh, I don't know if we should, like, I don't know if that's like, that's really embarrassing to post. And then after it got posted, I didn't care anymore because I was like, it's pretty funny.
yeah.
Like it's a pretty funny video that was like the 10 minutes of the 14-hour flight that they announced that I'm wearing this like weird creepy face mask on. And like people thought it was just really funny, and it was one of those things like, yeah, you want to do some skincare on a long haul flight, and so it kind of went viral because, and I my first instinct was like no. So I think that's an area that I've always had to work on because I don't want still I'm like, ooh, that's a little too far on the putting yourself out there. And really, those are the ones that people like the most because you're actually a real person. You're not this fabricated. And like using the filters, like you said, like if you see something too perfect on social media, that's likely been like filtered and really heavily edited, which is those are the not real elements that and I feel bad for young girls seeing that side of people because they think that that's how they have to look, but it's not real. It's not like a real person. So how would you suggest just navigating for kids, not only on their own social media, on like posting, and especially like young athletes who think that they should be putting out like videos of them doing cool things in their sport,
Uh,
um, to navigate that space to from just get used to the space early so that it's not going to be like detrimental to not only like their performance but even like socially and their development as people.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's as you're starting younger, the more you post and the more um, authentic that you're online, you kind of, to your point, Emma, like you kind of grew into it over the last few years of caring less and less of what the people around your bubble care, but
yeah.
you're just building an audience on the outside. So I think the more that you put out, the better it is because I like to test with different content too. So sometimes somebody will set on a video and never post it because they don't think it's perfect. I would say just post it and see how it performs because the more that you're testing different types of content, you know which lane to go in for content and where the fan base is going to, right? So with Emma particularly, like being close with you as your friend as well and helping you with your social media at the time, I know that you have an incredible personality and you're very funny. Not everybody would see that sometimes when they see you on TV and you're a fierce competitor. So I always would capture those little moments of you of being funny or in your element, or I'm filming and you don't even know I'm filming. And sometimes I'll post it and you're just like, oh, wow, you posted that, like to the face mask, for example. So not everyone has a Jess to manage your social media. But in terms of parents, I feel like they would also know their child's personality very well and can help navigate that content and kind of be a filter check for that too, right? So as your child is developing their brand online and if they're becoming more of going into the professional level, they can help be that gut check or lean on. There's a lot of great resources out there too. You can always get consulting on social media as well to dive into like what lanes to go in.
uh,
Yeah, how would you recommend dealing with as like followings grow, dealing with hate messages or comments? Because that's something I
Yeah,
managed for me a lot.
no, for
Um,
sure.
and there's not a lot. There's so much more
Yeah.
positivity than there is hate always. But
Mhm.
as humans, we're always drawn to the negative comments. It's just instinctual, even though we shouldn't. It's a silly
Totally.
thing. But how would you recommend that you deal with and respond to or not respond to? Like how did you navigate that?
For sure. I've at one point managed 85 social media accounts at once. So I've seen it all. Social media can be a very powerful place and building a great community, but there's also a dark side of the web of the people that are online, and there's trolls with everything out there. I would say it's a tough one to navigate. I think the most important thing is as athletes are competing to put their phone away. I've had some um, friends and clients in the past who went to their first like world championship or big level of competition, and the biggest mistake that they had was that they're on their phone during it. So they're winning, they're having a great week, but the second that they're losing in a game, everyone floods to them negatively online and they're reading every single comment and getting consumed in it. I think it's important to just go offline. And if someone can manage your social media and brand during those big tournaments, at least invest in that piece. But in terms of like self managing comments, just block them, delete them. There's filters on your comments where you can actually like tag keywords so they don't even show up on your feeds. So I think it's just putting proper filtering in place so it's out of sight, out of mind, and you don't have to see that stuff.
Mhm.
Uh,
Gotten to a place on mine in the past couple of years where you respond on my behalf with something sassy, and I appreciate it. Sometimes I need to be called out.
Sometimes they absolutely do. And I think the Team Home and brand before I joined, it was the whole "you guys don't smile enough," which was absolutely ridiculous as female athletes. So we kind of made that our own brand. And Emma, you actually found a video that we emulated with smiling while curling, and that really took off virally. And then it was like a tagline for a season.
Yeah.
So I think it's just leaning into it when it makes sense, and your community will pile on as well and help you out. But the really mean comments, you could just filter them out and kind of self-regulate it so you don't have to read it. It's
And
not worth engaging in the really mean comments.
yeah, and to note, there's always people, keyboard warriors, who are going to send mean comments to every single person who has social media. It's not just you. There's all these reels out there of like all the mean comments talking about like Taylor Swift, and then they zoom into their profile and they have like one follower, and they're like, it's and you're like, okay, you're just doing this to be mean. So it's to
Yeah.
everybody.
And
So
their entire feed is just to talk garbage to everyone. It's just a sad life to live as a burner account.
yeah.
yeah. Jess, do you recommend younger athletes engage across different platforms? Is there one that you recommend that if they're new to it that they start with? It seems like a silly question, but Instagram gets so much love. Is there more of a safe place to start experimenting, like you say, and just putting content out there?
Yeah, I would say Instagram would be my starting point for sure,
Yep.
especially Canadian
Uh,
for this type of viewership. I would for Instagram, it's Meta, right? So it's connected to
right.
Facebook as well and Threads. So they own a bunch of different platforms. So it's easy to cross promote across different networks. So you post one message
Uh,
and you can build your following across Facebook and Threads as well. TikTok is a harder one to crack, I would say. But if you do get into reels and developing videos, if you're able and you have time to cross post across Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, you're
uh,
posting the same thing across all three platforms. They'll perform differently, but it's a great way to build your following.
uh,
And as you get to the point of monetization, not to step too far ahead,
yeah.
Facebook is really great. They have good bonuses for Canadian creators. YouTube, of course, has always been really, really great in the creator community. TikTok hasn't cracked the Canadian market just yet. So if you are on Instagram and you're resharing, your reels automatically go to Facebook and you are able to set them up to get monetized.
Uh, uh. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the more trendy things going on in youth sports right now, and this is the world I live in, Jess, right now, is a lot of kids are showing up on Instagram. They are. I'd still suggest that there's way more consumption than output, right? They're
Yes.
still consuming it far more than they're actually contributing. But parents are now taking over the role of contributing, right? Parents, I think,
Mm.
are more in charge, I think, of helping with that branding, shaping the personality that appears online. And I still don't know how I feel about it. I do not do that with my son, but I know a lot of our friends do, and it's neat, like, right? It's neat to see. It's neat to see that they're developing this profile and brand out there. But I wonder, are there people out there like yourself that are helping or available to families if they're really keen on being involved in this type of activity, or is it just not really at that point, and you've really got to just start getting into it at that level when you're starting to monetize the brand?
Yeah, I think it's to your point, it's a tough one to search
Uh,
out for. There's not a ton of
yeah.
things that exist, but you can find
Uh,
them. Like I think a great
uh,
platform, it's OXO Sports, I believe. She works a lot with consulting with Olympic athletes, but I think she does like one-to-one consulting calls. So that could be a good resource for parents if you just want to have like an hour catch up social media chat, getting to learn more
uh,
about the space. I think doing those consulting calls, you don't have to invest long term in having someone manage the profiles completely, but having that space to learn a little bit more as a parent could be really
Yep.
beneficial. And there's a lot of
Yep.
great like guides out there too. There's free resources online, but I find like there's like $10 guides that you can find. Maybe it's available
Yeah.
through your NSO in sport.
Yep.
At the top level, I think engaging them at the top level and seeing if there's any resources available for athletes, you can always lean in on that too.
Yeah, I think as we talk and I hear you, Jess, this is something that I feel like really could be administered by an association or an NSO or a PSO, the way you
Yeah.
say, just to help parents. It's just that other element of this experience that's often overlooked. And I think a lot of parents just assume that it's easy. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook. Of course, they can just like post some reels about their kid doing something incredible, and no harm, no foul. But I think as this stuff remains and lingers and others interact with it, there's dangers there and there's risks. And I think it would be a great idea for parents to be confronted with this as they would with, there's all these seminars parents have to do now with youth athletics about behavior, right? How they
Hmm.
interact at the sporting venues, but why not what they're doing at home or on the car ride home without even recognizing the risks or the harm they're maybe doing to their child and just seeing how that online presence is experienced. So,
'Cause I would
yeah,
even say from just posting the good, if it's a parent posting and they're just
yeah.
posting like highlights, and then their kids seeing what's being posted, and it's like, oh, I didn't have a highlight moment tonight. I must not have played well, or they didn't
Mhm.
post something. Whereas like we post some highlight stuff, but I also fell on the ice last season and that got posted. So
Sorry.
humanizing, like, yeah, sure, we're like a really great curling team and I'm pretty good, but I also still fall sometimes. And so it's not just like all of the highlight stuff that should be posted. And I think that's something that everyone thinks is the norm. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, we need to post like it's a highlight reel. This Instagram's a highlight reel, but
Mhm.
that's not real. We're not,
Right.
yeah, the real stuff is that we're human
Mhm.
and the imperfections and all that.
This is the issue that I find shows up with
Yeah.
kids is Theodore Roosevelt comparison is the thief of joy. Like, could that not be more perfect for social media for like 12-year-olds?
Yeah.
Is they post stuff to show others how good they are, right? Or how well they've done something. Whereas others then consume it and are jealous about an experience. Oh, well, so and so's doing this, or so and so can do that, or so and so got this new piece of equipment that I've really been wanting. So, in most cases for young kids, there's not this net positive interaction with the social media, right? And so, I love it, Emma. Like, and Jess, maybe finding out that you're behind some of this stuff, posting these vulnerable moments, not just these picture perfect moments, is really refreshing. I think it's great for kids to see. It then prefaces maybe how they should be behaving online, that it's not only the glorified moments that you really don't see. We've talked about this too before, Emma, right? It's the non-Instagram moments. Like those are the moments that really define athletes, but all they see are the Instagram moments. So they're really at a loss of how to feel about what they're seeing. So,
Yeah. Some of
yeah.
my favorite follows are people who are real and post about real things. And they
Yeah.
talk about real things that,
Mhm.
and it's not like Jess said, the people who have very polished and clearly
Yeah.
scripted content. That's
Mhm.
not what draws me in either. And I'm guessing for kids, they're not going to know what they're drawn into yet. But
Mhm.
looking for the realness. And if you, like I said, see something that's overly perfect all the time, that isn't real. Nobody is completely perfect all the time.
Mhm.
Like I got a
Yeah.
comment that someone didn't like that I plugged my nose when I jump in the water. But I
But it's so
I
real.
yeah, I mean, I can't jump in the water without plugging my nose. Otherwise, I have water in my lungs. So, not actually. It just feels like I'll never get the water out of my nose. So, it makes me happier to just plug my nose, and people
Yeah.
don't like that. So, I was like,
Wow.
but that is the real life
Yeah.
part of social media is like I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it whether if you don't like it.
That's good. Um, yeah. This is really complex. I think social media, I'm sure if we had this live component to Rinkside, we'd be flooded with questions from parents trying to get our resident chief social media expert, Jess Szabo, on this. but it's something that I think we have to keep coming back to as we unpack. We've done it like in little pieces here, but I think for kids, I think the big takeaway is it's an opportunity to shape who you are as the public sees it, right? It's an opportunity for recruitment, especially as you get higher and higher. I can say practically recruitment budgets are going down across the country and across North America. So they're more often turning to your own content to see what kind of person you are. And they weed you out based on that. I've talked to many scouts, many colleges, including my alma mater. They do look at that as like a pressure test, right? What kind of person are we getting here? And then the downside, of course, there's risks, right? There's obsessions, there's the I don't know what way to put it, but like a comparison misery type concept that goes on that can be negative. But anyways, all that said, Jess, do you have any other sort of tips and tricks for parents who maybe are at the real front of this? Now you're a pro and you work with pros, but what about these amateurs that are listening? They've got like a 14-year-old who's on social media but not utilizing it the right way to actually help their athletic goals. Would you have any sort of hot take tips for these families?
Yeah, I think just getting to the very granular point of it is, I think, easy
Uh,
for everyone to just post photos.
yeah.
Everything in social media is very video based now. So it's getting
Uh,
comfortable with posting videos. And they don't, as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be highly curated or perfect. So, like, you
right.
can take something easy from your phone or a highlight quickly from a game and
Uh,
just post it online. You don't have to like sit down, think of it like a photo shoot opportunity, a perfect photo, and post it. I think getting more comfortable with video is very important.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's good sage advice. And I think what I took from you too is be creative with it. Don't be afraid to fail with it. And have fun with it. That's something I often see with social media that I'm like, I feel like a dinosaur. I'm so bad at it. I'm like, I could not be more different than Emma. My reels are like my kids doing stuff. Um, so yeah, cool. Well,
And post bloopers. Don't delete your bad
Yeah,
videos right
true,
away. Because if you
exactly.
true.
compile all the bloopers into like one little blooper reel every once in a while,
Yeah.
those are pretty funny usually. So, and it like obviously the one-off videos, you're not going to post them. When you combine them all, it works really well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
this behind the scenes mentality, right? That's some of the more captivating TV. Now all these sports leagues are doing these like F1 style documentaries where they go behind the scenes, and I think that's a really interesting part that's missed in sport at like the individual athlete level is just posting that for outward facing amazing clip and not as you're so good at, Emma, is showing the other side of it, and documenting your experience as an athlete more so than just showing what's sort of polished. So yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think that to
go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say to build on that, I think what you find not interesting in your sport, other people do. So you can
Yeah.
also find little elements to showcase to the audience. Like
Yeah.
Emma with curling rocks, people don't realize they're 40 pounds, but you would never think of like, oh, I'm gonna sit down
Uh,
and talk about this. You can find like really interesting topics in your sport to lean into that are easy.
uh,
Hmm.
uh, uh,
And not showing like perfectly polished gym stuff too, training for your sport. Like you might be dying after a workout. Like that's funny. And that's real.
Totally.
So yeah, like showing you're working hard, but also you're not a robot and working out is hard for
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Jess, thank you so much for being on Rinkside today. I know that you've been with the curling group now for a brief period of time, but there's so much exciting stuff on the table for you and others at the curling group with the Rock League. So best of luck to you. Thanks for spending time with us here today talking about this great issue.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Really interesting takes on social media. And just again, great to have another expert weighing in on really a really important topic for youth in sports and those monetizing it.
Yeah, I think it's something like because we've talked about it, and I think a lot of parents like yourself are
Uh,
resistant to it because it's a little bit of an unknown space. It can be a little bit scary for many reasons in terms of what information is being fed to your child, but also what they're putting out there and how how they see themselves and how they see themselves going out there. But it is a space that is not going anywhere. And I think knowing how to use that space properly and what to look for and what sort of videos to watch that would be more empowering versus making you feel worse about yourself. I think that's all really important information to know. I thought today that talking about this with someone who's helped me immensely become more real on social media and not just a picture where I looked polished and really nice that day has really changed how I even have confidence in myself.
Yeah.
Because the caring what people think, everyone has that to some degree.
Yeah.
But managing that and being like, sure, yeah, I care, but I'm going to be real because that is who I am. If you don't like me, that's okay. Not everyone's going to like everyone. Those keyboard warriors who are just going to say hate to whoever they feel like it that day. It's not personal. They still follow you and they say hate. So if they didn't like you, they would unfollow you. So those are little things where you can let that stuff go and learn to be more comfortable in your own skin. And I know I have immensely since she helped me just be more real on my channel. Those comments do not hurt me like they would have at the start. I am not embarrassed if I look silly on social media where I did at the beginning. And I really care less about what people think of me in that space than I did before. So I think that just becoming real and all that from the beginning and trying to be that way from a young age will only help you as like a human, an athlete on your team, being a good teammate. Everything will tie together in that space.
Yeah, well said. And I think, coming at it again from the other angle is you're a parent, really trying to figure out what that relationship with social media looks like for your younger child is a challenge. It's threatening, but I think most parents have to just approach it with some caution, but with right out in the open, right? Have these honest conversations. It's heartbreaking to see most kids just sitting there blindly consuming content, right? Scrolling on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. But how can we shape that interaction better for them? I sort of agree with Jess. Like, don't be afraid to be a contributor in a safe way that helps you have a more positive interaction, and maybe kids will learn some really positive outcomes the way you have at a younger age, which is pretty powerful if you think about it. So it doesn't all have to be negative, but I think parents have to take a more active role in questioning, well, what is your goal now? If you're going to sit here and sit on Instagram, is there a goal with that? Is there a purpose with that? Sometimes it's just time killer. I get that. But, try to frame it in a positive way that actually supports what you're trying to do with your sport as opposed to just consuming crap, frankly.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's a balance, but it's a balance that the more you can tackle it from the beginning and figure out what that space looks like, what your brand as an athlete looks like, and stay true to yourself, the more that social media can be enjoyable and productive and empowering.
Appreciate your insights, Emma, and your vulnerability here, talking about how you actually interact with this stuff. I love your content. Many do. That's why you have tens of thousands of more people following your life than mine. It's way more exciting. So keep it up. Okay, thanks everybody for listening to this week's episode of Rinkside with Emma and I.